Dear devotees of Chicago, Bari, today again our beloved Professor Subramaniam and Srimati Vidya Subramaniam will be doing the sixth and the concluding session of the glory of the great goddesses, Devi Mahatmayam. And with that, let me hand over the mic to Professor Subramaniam. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaskaram to all devotees. Welcome to this concluding session number 6 on the glory of the great goddess Devi. As usual, we start with our prayers. Om Gajananam Bhuta Ganati Sevitam Kapita Jambu Palasara Pakshitam Umasutam Soka Vinasa Karanam Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sada Shiva Samarambam, Sankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmat Acharya Padyantam, Bande Guru Paramparam. Om Sri 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 Shantananta Avadhuta Sadgurave Namaha. Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om. Again, welcome to this session 6 on the glory of the great goddess Devi. And as usual, we will do a quick review of the previous sessions. In the very first session, we presented the glory of goddess as in Devi Mahatmyam, one of the greatest epics from the Markandeya Purana. And in the session 2, we spoke about how Lalita Devi emerged from the Chitaknigunda, Avataram, and her glory. In the third session, we talked more in detail about the glory of Tripura Sundari in Lalita Sahasranamam, quoting some of the key verses in that Sahasranamam. In the fourth session, we presented Adi Shankara's Saundarya Lahari, the waves of beauty, one of the greatest epics and scriptures composed by Adi Shankara. Such a beautiful description of Devi. And in the last session number 5, we presented the glory of Devi as goddess Mahalakshmi in Kanakadara Stotram, composed by Adi Shankara, and he was a brahmachari, the very first composition of Adi Shankara, and how he relieved the poverty of a very poor woman praying to goddess Mahalakshmi, and also how he came to establish Saraswati at Sringeri on his way back south after the debate with Mandana Mishra and Udaya Bharati. And today, we are going to be presenting more highlights from several other stotrams, and one of them is going to be very rare. And many of you might not have heard about it. So that we'll be presenting today. Now, let's say something about Devi's feet. We had covered in the earlier sessions a lot of description about Devi and what is called Keshadi Pada Varnanam. There is detailed description of Devi and her glorious qualities in all those stotram. Today, we are going to be talking about a very special stotram that describes the greatness of Devi's lotus feet. Why feet are given so much importance? In Hinduism, we always believe that salvation can be obtained only by clinging to the lotus feet of God. I did say in the very first session, what my guru told me about Apati Kim Karaniyam, in calamity, what to do? And the answer was Smaraniyam Charana Yugala Ambayaha, which means in times of calamity, just remember the lotus feet of Devi. That was an advice given. And the feet of spiritual gurus and gods have always been worshipped in Hinduism. In our Sanatana Dharma, it is a tradition to respect the feet of not only the divine, but also humans. We always take off one's footwear before going into a temple. Now, the reason for it, first is a basic one, which is hygiene. And second is it's a mark of respect and complete submission of one's ego. These are all part of what I can call foot etiquette in our Sanatana Dharma, which is somewhat different from the Western approach, where when somebody says my foot, it is actually demeaning to the foot. So many are the temples and shrines where the devotees touch the feet of the deity. In Pandharpur, one can do that to the idol directly. You can go and touch the feet of the idol. So here you see in Ramayana also, Bharata took away the padukas of Rama and he placed them on the king's throne in Ayodhya as a proxy. In Maharashtra, where I grew up, every year during Ashada Ekadashi, the padukas of Saint Jnaneshwar are carried in a garland-covered palki, as they call it, palanquin, and it is carried all the way from Alanti to Pandharpur. The mere touching of the divine feet is experience the full worship. So there are many devotees who worship the padukas of the gurus, and they are all kind of portable devotional articles. So anyone can pray the lotus feet of Ambal, as you see in the picture here, with ease, because it is easy to remember that. It is easy to remember and meditate on the lotus feet, even if you cannot visualize the complete figure. So it is an easy tool available, a very interesting step within one's own self to form a kind of self-inquiry and learn to remember her feet will gradually and slowly get engrossed with Devi's grace. In Lalita Sahasranam and other scriptures also, the feet is described in various ways. You know, for example, in Lalita Sahasranamam, we say, Nagaditi Sanchanna Namajjana Tamo Guna. It is Padatvaya Prabhajala Parakritasaroruha. Nagaditi. Naga means nail, you know. Dititi is sparkling. Sanchanna, it is concealing. Namajjana, see those who are prostrating before the Devi, Tamo Guna, their ignorance and sluggishness are dispelled by the brightness or splendor of Devi's two nails. So this is a very nice slokam on the importance of Devi in Lalita Sahasranamam. It's also describing the beauty that Devi's lotus feet outshine the lotuses in beauty. So you have another one called Sinja Namadi Manjira Pandita Sri Padam Puja Marani Manda Gamana Maha Lavanya Sevadi. You know, Devi's lotus feet, you see that it is got a jewel, which is an anklet. It is tinkles with its, it is set with jewels. And our moment is just like a swan, gentle, Marali Manda Gamana. It is gentle like a swan. And she is a treasure house of beauty. By just describing the feet, you get to know about the Devi's whole beauty. And in Ananda Lahari also, there is a reference made to the dust coming from the feet of the Devi. Tani Taniyam sum pamsum tavacharana pankerugapavam virinchi sanchinvan virajayati lokana vikalam. You know, there even the speck of dust from Ambal's feet, it is said that Brahma uses that to create the whole universe. So it is the Devi's lotus feet is described in many of these ancient scriptures, and there is a special stotram which describes entirely about Devi's lotus feet. This is what we are going to talk about today, and that is going to be called as Sri Pada Saptati. Sri refers to Devi, as you know. Sapta is 7 and Saptati is 70. There are 70 exquisite verses in Sanskrit in praise of Devi's holy feet. 70 verses entirely describing Devi's holy feet. Now, this is a rare stotram. I don't know how many have heard of it, but it is composed by one of the greatest kavis and devotees whose name was Narayana Bhattatri. Anybody who knows about Narayaniam also knows about Narayana Bhattatri because he was the one who composed the Narayaniam, a devotional poem. There are 10 dasakams and there are 100 dasakams each of 10, which is about 1,000 verses in all in soulful praise of the Lord of Guruvayur, Lord Krishna. And Narayana Bhattatri was the devotee who composed this Narayaniyam at Guruvayur. He had an ailment which he actually took from his guru, and he prayed for relief from that ailment. And these 100 dasakams he composed in 100 days, 1 dasakam per day. He got relief from that ailment and the Lord blessed him. But he was still not very happy. He wanted mukti or bliss, and that eluded him. So he kept on praying, what do I do? And the story goes that Lord Krishna appeared in his dream and he told him to go and worship Durga Devi in a place called Muktisthala. The name itself is Muktisthala. It is near Guruvayur. I have not been there. I'm told it is about 20-25 kilometers from Guruvayur, and to worship Devi Durga there. So he went to the place and he found that there was a temple, and he composed 70 exquisite verses, very beautiful, called the Sri Pada Saptati. And later he also composed Devi Kesadi Pada Varnanam, which is separate, which has got about 22 verses in it. And it is said that he was blessed by Devi there with bliss and spent his last days at her feet and eventually attained liberation. This temple, of course, in Kerala circles, they call it as Mukuttala. It's not known really as Muktisthala, but maybe the local language slightly changed it to Mukuttala Bhagavati. And I can show you a picture of that place. This is the picture of the temple called Sri Mukuttala Bhagavati Devi, Sri Durga Devi. It's a very ancient temple and believed to be founded by Sri Adi Shankara. And this place called Mukuttala is near Guruvayur. And in this Sri Pada Saptati, Narayana Bhattatri, who was a great composer, an expert in Sanskrit language, a kavi, he describes Devi's feet in various poetic ways. At many places, he describes about the trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva doing namaskarams to Devi. And he also describes Devi's feet as something which is so beautiful, like uh, something which is blessing you instantly. And he describes it in so many ways. Let's start with the very beginning of this Dhyana slogam. Before you really start, you always have a Dhyana slogam. Like, for example, Lalita Sahasranamam, you say, Sindhurarana Vigraham, Trinayanam, Manikka Mauli Spurate, Taranayaka Sekaram, Kritabhil, Abhina Vachorham. You say that, isn't it? So it gives you a visual of the Devi. And likewise, in this Dhyana slogam, he visualizes Devi, and it is very beautiful. I'll read it out and I'll also explain the meaning to you. It's exquisite. Dakshadaha karapallave lasadasim dakshodvage chulinim vamodve falakojvalam katitananyasthanyahastambujam shulagrahata kasarasur sironishtam prakashtam surair Jushtamishta-falapradam Bhagavati Mukti-stalastham bhaje. Dakshadaha. Daksha means actually the right, right side. That's Adaha means down. The right arm. She has many arms, but right lower arm. Dakshadaha, right lower arm. Kara pallave. Kara means hand. And pallave is like a creeper, so smooth, It's a smooth hand, but it is holding, Lasadasim, it is holding a very, very bright sword. As you can see in the picture, she is holding a long, bright sword. Dakshodvage means Udvage, on the right upper hand. Udvage Shulinim. Shulam is the trident, got 3 pointed ends. And you can see Shiva also has a trident, Shulam, but there the 3 pointed things are up on the top. But here the Devi is holding it, pointing downwards. And there is a reason for it, which comes a little later. Vamodve. On the left hand, she is holding a shield. Falakojvalam. Falakojvalam refers to the shield. One uses it for protecting themselves. So she's holding a bright sword on one hand. The other one, she's holding the sulam. And on the left side, she's holding the shield. Kaditatanyastanyahastambujam. She also holds on the left side arm, ambujam. There is a lotus. So you have 3 weapons and also a lotus. Katitata is the hip, hand coming from the hip side. And what does it do? Shula grahata kasarasura sironishtam. The one which holding the shulam, the trident, where does it point? It is pointing downwards. Kasarasura sironishtam. Kasarasura was the Mahishasuran. Oh, this shulam or trident pointing downwards towards the head, on the head of the Kasarasura, the Mahishasura. Prakashtam Surair. Surair refers to the Devas. Opposite of is Asura, Sura or Deva. They are all Prakashtam, they are all worshipping the Devi because they are happy. Because with the Sulam, she destroyed the Mahishasuran who was giving them trouble. So that trouble was relieved, and because the Devi killed the Mahishasuran with the trident, the Devas are happy. And Jushta Mishta Valapradam, one who gives boon, Falapradam, she gives boons to all. Bhagavatim, O Bhagavati, Mukti-stalastham bhaje, O Bhagavati of Mukti-stalam, Stham bhaje, I worship you, says Narayana Bhattatri. It's a beautiful verse. which makes you visualize Devi, as you see in the picture, with a sword on the right hand and a shulam on top, and on the left you have the shield and also the lotus. So the Dhyana Slokam helps you to visualize Devi in this way. That is, there are 2 points here. One is that she is worshipped by Devas, Prakrishtam Suraiv. And second is that Justamishta Phala Pradam, she grants the wishes of any devotee. And that is the greatness of Bhagavati. Not only blesses Devas, but also humans in the Stalam of Muktisthala. Going further, let's go. I'm going to give you some sample verses from this beautiful Sripada Saptati. There is another one which actually compares Devi with sun god. As usual, again, I will read out the verse and then explain to you the meaning. Goram pada sagastrakam prakatayanna subhasampati dvantam no puranantam samayatum shaknodi sailatmaje tvatpada tvitayena kobala tarenanena chetaha sprusha jantunam pahirantarantata asam krintat Anantam Shive Ghoram Pada Sagasram. You know, Basam Patihi. Basa is brightness. You can even see the words rhyming, Basam and bright. Basam Patihi, the Lord of brightness. Who is the Lord of brightness? The sun god. He's also called Bhaskaran, right? Bhaskaran name comes from the Basam Patihi. Ghoram Pada Sagastrakam. He has got all those, the brilliant rays coming out. They are very harsh. Goram is terrific. Pada Sagastrakam. These thousands of rays being emitted by the sun god. Prakatayam Nasasu. It is spreading all over. Thousands of powerful shining rays all round from the sun. Vatam no Punarantaram Samayatum Shakkunoti Shailatmaje. Shailatmaje is referring to the daughter of the Shailagiri, who is the daughter of Himalayas, the Himavan's daughter. She's addressing her Himavan's daughter. The sun is able to go and spread his rays, his very strong, harsh rays everywhere, but is unable to go inside certain closed spaces. Punarantaram. If you say you have a box which is closed, he cannot enter inside. He is able to dispel all the darkness outside, but not internal darkness. In other words, the ignorance of people. That's what it means here. But what you do, it is with your pair of soft komala tarenanena, your lotus feet. Chetaha sprasa. Chetaha is inside. Chaitanyam, they say, no? It comes. It is touching the very base of mind. Chetaha sprasa. It is going and touching the very base of mind, thereby dispelling the ignorance. It is able to do what the sun is not able to do. Jantu nam bahirantara dasamasam krittayant anantam shive. Jantu nam is all living beings. You root out both the terrible external and internal darkness. External darkness is what you see physically, what is happening around when night comes in, and when the sun comes, that is expelled outside. But what is ignorance inside? Sun is not able to do that. But Devi's feet, with her brightness, it is able to dispel both the external and internal darkness. So the internal darkness is the ability to see the Devi's feet as a self, as a source of all light, the knowledge, action, and enjoyment. By praying at the Devi's feet, the lotus feet, the devotee is blessed with jnana, or the ultimate knowledge. That is the meaning of these particular slokam here. Going further, in this one, we are talking about Shiva worshipping Devi. In fact, I mentioned to you that the three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, all three of them worship Devi. And I've picked up one slokam from that, where Shiva is said to worship Devi. You can see in the picture. And here, the slokam goes like this. Sapada dudve hayatir jayati te yasyam girindratmaje prachin indayute nakhen tutasage baulis thale sangate Vasai ekadasha murtita samuchitane ekadasai podupan bibrana iva bhavo sa bhagavan ekopi rudra swayam. You know, this is where again it is addressed. Girindrat Maji is referring to the daughter of Himalaya, the chief of mountains. Sa patat pitiyahatit jayate. That strike of Shiva's head on your feet, when he does the namaskaram, his feet touches the Devi's feet. And it is beautiful, but prachinendu ite nakendu dasage. Nakendu dasage means the 10 nails of the fingers of Devi's feet, they look like moons. So when the 10 moons, they join, Mauli, Thali, Sangate, you know, Shiva has got a moon on his forehead, right? There is a moon. So the 10 moons which are from the nails of Devi, when they combine with the one on Shiva's head, they become 11. Swai Ekadasha Murtita. You know, each moon is associated with one Rudra. So 10 plus 1, 11 becomes 11 Rudran. 11 Rudras, each with a moon on his head. So, Bhavan Ekopi Rudra Swayam, it becomes as if she's just representing entire Shiva on his own self. Shiva is supposed to be having 11 Rudras. That's why you go the Ekadasha Rudram, you do, you know. So, there are supposed to be 33 deities in Sanatana Dharma. You have 8 Vasus, 11 Rudras, which is, they represent Shiva, and 12 Adityas and 2 Ashwinis, making it totally 33 deities. So here in this stotram, Narayana Bhattatri says Shiva is one moon combined with the 10 moons represented by the nails of Devi become 11, and it is just representing Shiva himself. So it's a beautiful composition of Narayana Bhattatri. And the next slokam, Vishnu worships Devi here. I picked it up because Narayana Bhattatri has like a very, very skilled poet. He has combined a spice of humor in this. And it is not something very seriously philosophical, but it does give you a little bit of interest in how skillfully this has been composed. Devi Tvam Muravairanaha Pranamane Yat Kinchita Kunchaya Sri Pada Ambuja Manyatascha Shirasi Tvat Pada Lakshanchite Sri Bhumyo Ritara Pranama Kritam Itan Anyo Namasankaya Rosha Vyakulos Chiram Sa Bhagavan Chayet Paryakulaha. Devi, he addresses Devi here. Tvam Mura Vairana. Who is Mura? Is Murari. You know the name, right? Is Vishnu. When does Mahavishnu, when he does the Namaskaram, Pranamane Yatkinchi Kunchaya, it says, when he does the Namaskaram, you know, there is a request made by Narayana Bhattatri to withdraw her feet a little bit. And why does he do that? He explains in the next line, Sri Bhumyorita Pranamakritam Ita Anyonyamasankaya. You know, Mahavishnu has two wives, right? Sri Devi and Bhu Devi. So when he does namaskaram to Devi, Devi's lotus feet is red in color. You know, they have this red color as decoration. You will find, you know, in weddings also, the bride is given a coat of red paint. And that redness may get in touch with his head, and there will be slight redness from your lotus feet. Sri Padhambuja Manyatasa Shirasi Tvat Pada Lakshanchite. That red color will go on Mahavishnu's head. And when he goes home, what happens? Supposing he goes to Sri Devi's home, she will look at him and she will think that he has done namaskaram to Bhu Devi, who is the other wife. And there can be a misunderstanding, whichever happens, you know, whether he goes to his Sri Devi's house or Bhu Devi's house, there could be a misunderstanding caused because of the redness on his head, and it might embarrass him. You know, it will put him in a little bit of trouble. Jayeta paryakulaha. The real meaning is by worshipping Devi, you can avoid that problem. Devi, Narayana Bhattatri is suggesting to Devi to help Mahavishnu avoid this problem by withdrawing her feet a little bit so that the redness doesn't come onto his head. So it's a beautiful way of putting a point across with Mahavishnu prostrating before Devi. It's I thought it's a little bit of a different way of composing the verse. It's beautifully done. So going a little further, this is one verse to give you a sample. At the end of every stotram, you have a palasruti. And palasruti really means the fruits of a particular slokam, the fruits of any stotram judis or benefits that you get. Parvatyaha padamaktradishyamiti vapade babatvena va sadhutva tadupasthase hitataya padyan munisfutam saisha muktipuri girindраtanaya bhaktena narayanena abadda kalu saptati dishatu va kalyana hallohalam. Parvatya padamatra drishyamiti vapade babatvenava. You know, in Sanskrit, padyam means a poem. It is usually you have 4 legs, as they call it, 4 padams. A padyam must have basically 4 padams. So then it becomes a padyam. Like this one, you got 4 lines, right? So it becomes a padyam. And Bhattatri says that he has composed this padyam. So that is one meaning you can say. And the other meaning is padyam also refers to padam. It refers to Devi's feet. So then it becomes also padyam. See, because the description is about the feet, about padam. So therefore it becomes padyam. There's also a third interpretation in which he has padamatra drishyamiti vapade. Drishyamiti means he has actually seen, not just description, but he has actually seen the feet of Devi, and therefore this is composed in such a way, describing the feet after having seen it, so that all the devotees who read this will get an idea on how to perceive Devi's feet. So, the three kind of meanings described in this stotram, and what it does mean is Parvatyaha padamat drishyamiti vapade bhapatvena. They're clearly Padya because the feet of Parvati are seen in all the verses. And sadhutvata dupaste hitataya padyanmunisputam. The verses are all directed to the feet, and they are meant for the benefit of all the devotees. Saisha Mukti Puri Girindratanaya Bhaktena Narayane. Saisha is referring to this particular stotram written by Narayana, where at Mukti Puri, which is Bhuksistalaya, Girindratanaya, Giri here refers to the Devi as the daughter of the great Himalayas, Girindratanaya, Himavan. Bhaktena Narayane. Nabadha kalu sapta dishatu va kalyana hallohalam. He is saying, may this stotram composed by him, hey, daughter of Himavan, Girindratanaya, may the Saptati bring kalyana hallohalam. Waves, kalyana hallohalam. Hallohalam means waves, like you see in seas, like Saundari Lahari, it's also a Lahari. Kalyana Hallohalam means may it bring waves of auspiciousness and the well-being to all the devotees. So this is the Nabadha Kalu Saptati. This Saptati may it bring waves of auspiciousness and well-being and welfare to all. So this is the final stotram in which he prays for Devi's divine blessings. Going further, I think we'll have a little song here, maybe. I'll ask Vidya to sing a song about Devi's feet. Okay, it is in Tamil.
கற்பகவல்லினில் பொற்பதங்கள் பிடித்தே நர்கதி அருள்வாயம்மா. கற்பகவல்லினில் பொற்பதங்கள் பிடித்தே நர்கதி அருள்வாயம்மா. தேவி கற்பகவல்லினில் பொற்பதங்கள் பிடித்தே நர்கதி அருள்வாய் அம்மா. பற்பலரும் போற்றும் பதிமகில புரியில் பற்பலரும் போற்றும் பதிமகில புரியில் பற்பலரும் போற்றும் பதிமகில புரியில் சிற்பம் நிறைந்த உயர் சிங்கார கோவில் கொண்ட கற்பக வல்லினில் பொற்பதங்கள் பிடித்தே நர்கதி அருள்வாயம்மா. நீ இந்த வேளை தன்னில் சேயனை மறந்தால் நான் இந்த நானிலத்தில் நாடுகள் யாரிடமோ. நீ இந்த வேளை தன்னில் சேயனை மறந்தால் நான் இந்த நானிலத்தில் நாடுதல் யாரிடமோ. ஏன் இந்த மௌனமா ஏழையன கருள. ஏன் இந்த மௌனம் அம்மா ஏழையன கருள. ஏன் இந்த மௌனம் அம்மா ஏழையன கருள. ஆனந்த பைரவியே ஆதரித்தாளும் அம்மா, ஆனந்த பைரவியே ஆதரித்தாளும் அம்மா, ஆனந்த பைரவியே ஆதரித்தாளும் அம்மா, கற்பக வல்லினில் பொற்பதங்கள் பிடித்தே நகதி அருள்வாய் அம்மா. எல்லோர்க்கும் இன்பங்கள் எழிலாய் இறங்கி என்றும் நல்லாட்சி வைத்திடும் நாயகியே. எல்லோர்க்கும் இன்பங்கள் எழிலாய் இறங்கி என்றும் நல்லாட்சி வைத்திடும் நாயகியே. நித்ய கல்யாணியே, நித்ய கல்யாணியே கபாலி காதல் புரியும், நித்ய கல்யாணியே கபாலி காதல் புரியும் இன்ப உல்லாசியே உமா, உன்னை நம்பினேன் அம்மா. உல்லாசியே உமா, உன்னை நம்பினேன் அம்மா. கற்பக வல்லினில் பொற்பதங்கள் பிடித்தே நகதி அருள்வாய் அம்மா. அஞ்சனமையிடும் அம்பிகே எம்பிரான் கொஞ்சி குலாவி வஞ்சியே நின்னிடம். அஞ்சனமையிடும் அம்பிகே எம்பிரான் கொஞ்சி குலாவியே வஞ்சியே நின்னிடம். தஞ்சமென அடைந்தேன் தாயே உள் சேனான், தஞ்சமென அடைந்தேன் தாயே உள் சேனான், தஞ்சமென அடைந்தேன் தாயே உள் சேனான், ரஞ்சனியே ரட்சிப்பாய், ரஞ்சனியே ரட்சிப்பாய் கெஞ்சுகிறேன் அம்மா. ரஞ்சனியே ரட்சிப்பாய் கெஞ்சுகிறேன் அம்மா. கற்பக வல்லினின் பொற்பதங்கள் பிடித்தே நகதி அருள்வாய் அம்மா.
A beautiful composition in Tamil by a composer called Yalpanam Veeramani Iyer. Very popular song in the worship of Karpangamba in Chennai, who is the spouse of Kabali. And the song seeks the liberation or bliss by holding on to the golden feet, Porpadangal, by the golden feet of Karpagavalli, the goddess in the temple of Kabali in Chennai. These are in Tamil language set to Ragam Ananda Bhairavi, one of the beautiful pieces of music, very popular. Going a little further now, since we are making these presentations to Bari temple, I thought it is most appropriate to say something about Kalidas. Oh, everybody knows Kalidasa was a great poet who lived maybe in the 5th century in the times of Vikramaditya king. And there is a story behind him. He is believed to have, in the 5th or 6th century, I'm not sure, when the king Vikramaditya and Bhoja Maharaja ruled from Ujjain, present Madhya Pradesh. The story goes that he was a foolish woodcutter and he was made to act a smart person by the enemies of a proud princess, who convinced the princess to marry him. And the princess knew he was an idiot, so she drove him out. And he went inside a Kali temple and locked himself and wouldn't permit Kali to enter inside unless she made him a pandit or a wise man. And Kali agreed. When she came back, she was let inside. She wrote something on his tongue and he became an instant poet, a kavi. The answers were given immediately by Devi, and Kalidasa was a great poet who wrote many great dramas. Many of you might have heard about it, like Shakuntalam, Kumarasambhavam, Megha-Santesham, and many others. He is very well known to have used appropriate similes and metaphors. It's a beautiful, many beautiful verses which he composed. And the very first slokam that he composed immediately after Kali blessed him was Shamala Dandakam. This is mother goddess, is Shamala, and the greatest stotram written by the Mahakavi Kalidasa, worshipping the goddess, mother goddess Shamala. He is now, the style here is called Dandakam. Dandakam is a poetry where some of the lines go like prose, they are very long. They have more than 26 syllables at one stretch. It very much resembles a prose, but it's not really prose, it's poetry. In this case, the entire Dandakam is like a single sentence from start. Like if I were to read it, Ckb-Chicago Pulalayantim
Madhalasa Manjula Vagvilasa Mahendra Nila Jyuti Komalangi Matanka Kanya Manasa Smarami Chaturbuje Chandra Kalavatamse Kuchonate Kumkumaraghashone Pundrekshu Pashankusha Pushpabanahase Namaste Jagat Ekamataha Mata Maragadashyama Matanki Madashamini Kuryat Kataksham Kalyani Kadu Bhavanavasini Jayamatanka-tanaye Jaya Nilotpaladhyute Jaya Sangeeta Rasike Jaya Neela Sukapriye Jaya Janani Sudha Samudhranta Hridyan Manidvipa Samruta Bilvatavi Madhya Kalpadruva Kalpagadamba Kantara Vasapriye Kriti Vasapriye Sarvaloka Priye.
So it goes on. Sadararabda Sangeeta Sambhavana Sambhavaloga
Srakabata Choli Sanata Trike Sanuma Putrike Shekari Bhuta Sitam Shureka Mayukavali Padma Susnigdha Neelalakha Shreni Shringarite Loka Sambhavite Kamalila Danuksannipa Bhulata Pushpa Sandoha Sandeha Trilochane Vaksuta Sechane Charu Goro Janapanka Kelila Lama Abhirame
So this goes long prose-like sentences, but beautifully sung in a musical fashion by Vidya. Manikya-Veenam Upalalayantim. Devi was born as a daughter of a great Maharshi called Matanga. So meditating Matanka Kanyam Satatam Smarami. I am always meditating on the daughter of Matanka Maharishi. She is holding a veena, as you see in the picture, holding a veena. Manikya Veenam is studded with diamonds, beautifully made Manikya. Madalasam, Manjula Vagvilasam, is totally relaxed, rested. Whose speech is picturesque, Manjula Vagvilasam, beautiful speech. That's how I think Kalidas got his beautiful speech. Mahendra Neela Driti Komalangam. She's beautiful. She's like a dark blue gemstone, you know. Mahendra Neela Driti Komalangam. Chaturbhuje Chandrakalavatams Kuchonnate Kunkumaraja Shone. Undre Chupasan Kuchapushpabana Haste Namaste Jagate Kamataha. Chaturbhuje, 4 arms that the mother has. Kuchonnate Kunkumaraja Shone. She has got the moon, adorned with a crescent moon, who's a complexion like kumkumam. Kumkumam is red, you know. Who carries in hands Putte Pasang Gucha Pushpapana Haste. She's got 4 arms. She's carrying a sugar cane and arrows made of flowers. I think I mentioned in the first session of how Ambal looks like, with sugar cane as the bow and flowers as arrows. And the Pasa Angusham, the rope, as well as the Ankusha, which is used to control elephants like a goad. And he says, Namaste Jagate Gamataha, the only mother of the entire world. I do my namaskarams. Mata Maragada Shama, Matangi Matashalini. See, he is calling Mata, who is dark as Maragada Shama. Maragadam is emerald. Matangi Matashal, Matangi again, daughter of the Matanga Maharshi, who's exuberant. Kujat Kataksham Kalyani Kadamba Vanavasini. She's supposed to be loving the Kadamba flowers, and Kadamba Vanam is a forest of Kadamba, and who lives in that Kadamba Vanavasini. Jaya Matangatane, Jaya Nilot Paladjute, Jaya Sankita Rasike, Jaya Leela Sukapriye. Hail, victory to the daughter of Matanga, one who has the complexion of the dark blue lily. She's described in different colors. Victory to the one who enjoys the dark blue lily, Nilotpalam, blue lily. And Sangeeta Rasike, one who loves music, appreciates music. Jaya Leela Sukapriya. Sukha is referring to the parrot, playful parrot. Said that Ambal has a parrot too. So after this, the Dandagam goes on in a beautiful verse fashion. So this is the beauty of Kalidasa's poem called Shamala Dandagam. This is most appropriate because we are doing this program for Chicago Bari Temple, and it is most appropriate to talk a few words about Kalidas, and who composed his very first poem of Shamala Dandagam in praise of deity. So we are going to now conclude with a little song again about, we have been referring to the daughter of Himalayas. So we are going to talk something about Himagiri Tanaye. That's going to be a song which is actually in Sanskrit. And the author of this is Muttaya Bhagavatar. Harikesha Muttaya Bhagavatar, right? Okay. I think you can sing.
Himagiri tanaye malate, Himagiri tanaye malate, Amba Himagiri tanaye malate, Amba Ishwari Shri Lalite, मामवहिमगिरितनये मलते अम्बईश्वरि श्रीललिते मामवहिमगिरितनये मलते रमावाणी रमावाणी संसेवित सकले रमावाणी संसेवित सकले राजराजेश्वरी रामसहोदरी राजराजेश्वरी रामसहोदरी हिमगिरितनये मलते अम्बईश्वरी श्रीललिते मामवहिमगिरितनये मलते पाशाङ्कुशेषु दण्डकरे पाशाङ्कुशेषु दण्डकरे पाशाङ्कुशेषु दण्डकरे निज भगवरे निज भगवरे आशांबर हरि आशांबर हरि केश विलासे आशांबर हरि केश विलासे आनंद रूपे आनन्दरूपे अमितप्रतापे तनये मलते अम्बईश्वरी श्रीललिते मामवहिमगिरितनये मलते.
A very beautiful composition in which we have the composer praising Ishwari, daughter of King Himavan. She is respected by Rama, Vani, Saraswati, and Raja Rajeshwari, sister of Rama, and the one who wields the Pasangusham, Sheshatantakare. Parat Pare, she is the spouse of Shiva, and who is in the mind and heart of Harikesha Bhagavatar. So this is a short song, and with that we will come to a conclusion, a concluding verse I would like to say here. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shanti Rupena Samsita Namastastai 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 Namo Namaha. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samsita Namastastai 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 Namo Namaha. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Matru Rupena Samsita Namastastai 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 Namo Namaha. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Buddhi Rupena Samsita Namastastai 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 Namo Namaha. These are from the Devi Mahatmyam.
We conclude with the vision.
Okay.
Tripura Sundari Ma Ambadaya Sagari Ma Tripura Sundari Ma Ambadaya Sagari Ma Sundaravadani Ma Amba suguna manohari ma, sundara vadani ma, Amba suguna manohari ma, Jaya Jaya Janani ma, Amba Jagadodarini ma, Jaya Jaya Janani ma, Amba Jagadodarini ma, Kanchi Nivasini ma, Bhakta Prema Pradayini ma, Kanchi Nivasini ma, Bhakta Prema Pradayini ma, Tripura Sundari ma, Ambadaya Sagari ma.
That we come to the conclusion, and we want to thank all the devotees, all the viewers and listeners of this series on the glory of the great goddess Devi. We hope that you enjoyed this series. We welcome your comments. I've given you my contact information. If you want to suggest any more programs, please feel free to write to us or contact Mr. Sampath Iyengar. With that, we would like to thank the management of the Bari temple, Sri Sampath Iyengar, for excellent coordination and giving us this opportunity to talk about the glory of the great goddess Devi. Thank you very much and namaskaram to all.
Yeah, listeners of Chicago Bari, Professor Subramaniam, with his skill for language, both Sanskrit and English, he delved deep into the literatures and then the ancient, scriptures of Shankaracharya, Adi Shankara, then Bhattatri, and also Kalidasa and many others. All the basic documents are all in Sanskrit, the oldest language. And then his language skill helped quite a bit to delve deep into it and bring the gems of the scriptures, that one. And today's focus on the feet of Lord, and Goddess, the mother, the universal mother, that's really been very well brought out, that one. Two of the instances say come to me, the glory of the feet, It takes me back to the Mahabharata time where the war between the Pandavas and the Kauravas would take place, and both of them were asking for the help of Lord Krishna. Krishna is a kind of an impartial in a way. He doesn't want to show any partialities. He says, whomsoever comes first, or I see, I will give my help to them. And both Arjuna and Duryodhana went to Dwaraka, where Krishna was asleep or probably pretending to be asleep. And Arjuna, with a kind of a very subdued quality, he went, and no egos at all or not much. He went and sat at the feet of the Lord, And whereas Duryodhana, with all his ego, he sat on the head, As you see, Lord's look always comes, downward. He looks at the bhaktas, that one. The look is always downward. He doesn't raise his head up and look at the sky, like egoistic persons, that one. And when he woke up, his eye caught Arjuna. Then he inquired, "Hello, how are you, Arjuna?" and all. Naturally, he saw him first and he helped him. So Arjuna, being at the feet of the Lord, he got the help almost immediately. That was the grace is. That's why in our Sanatana Dharma, the focus is all at the feet. Saranagati kind of the tattva. Total surrender. Surrender being falling at his feet. Even in our household, right from our younger age, when we prostrate to our elders, we fall at the feet and touch the feet. Whatever the parts of India we belong to, north, south, west, east, everywhere, the custom is the same, that one. Another beautiful instance come to my mind. This is by Vedanta Desika, who lived about 780 years ago in the southern part of India. See, he was in Srirangam one night, and there was a competition. Somebody was one other poet. He was challenging him, that one, can you compose 1,000 verses on the feet of Lord, that was the challenge, and that was to be written within about 8 to 9 hours, from dusk to dawn period, that one, probably 12 hours, that one. And Vedanta Desika was a kind of a worshipper of Hayagriva. Hayagriva is the god, where Saraswati herself worshipped him. And he has the Vedanta Desika composed what is called a Paduka Sahasram. Paduka, you know what it is, the feet, or the Paduka of Lord Rama. You see, that's what he thought about that. And then he composed 1,000 beautiful verses in Sanskrit. That one is called Paduka Sahasram. And a lot of us practice that one. It brings a lot of good things, to us. So we really like the concentration today on the feet of the goddesses. And Professor Subramanian very well covered all the forms of the universal mother, the Shakti, he called Lalita, Tripura Sundari, then and the Saundari Lahari, many other names, and Mahalakshmi, then Saraswati. Almost every form of the God, universal mother, he brought in from these literature, authentic quotations from very old verses, from our ancient treasures written by Adi Shankara and others, So with this, we'll again, Professor Subramanian wanted a little break from the thing for some time, but we would like to have him back, as soon as possible once he's ready, then with other topics, that one. We will try to make it more a little interactive if possible with more participation. We'll do that, Thank you again, this is a wonderful 6 lectures of 6 hours, very deep subject it is, and he brought it with ease, so that mundane people like us, we can understand that very well, And thank you again, Kali Bari, for giving us that opportunity and then the platform of the technology for us to reach the homes of thousands of people. I see that from time to time, the number it hears, you see, it hits the homes of almost 4,000 to 5,000 people, various programs of ours, and it all depends upon who is interested in what subject. But universally, it reaches thousands of homes. That's what I could say. And this would not have been possible but for the technology and then that being made available to us by Kali Bari. Again, thank you again. Today, we have another satsang at 9 o'clock. Please don't miss it. That is a beautiful bhajans going to be sung by a few youngsters. Thank you very much.
Thank you.